Yes, you know, we might speak a little Spanish. I think that's how this is going to sort of flow
Yeah,
and
most
fade out.
likely. It's definitely gonna be a Spanglish episode for sure.
So we'll sort of feel it out and see how, como la situación, it goes. If not, we'll turn Puerto Rican. If not, I don't know, but we'll figure it
Team
out.
team Spanglish in la casa. That's how we
Yo,
do it.
so first of all, man, I just want to tell you, man, I'm super proud of you. The things that God is really doing with you, man, with the music and your vision beyond just making beats. A lot of people don't know that you're like truly invested in seeing Latinos in the Christian on the Latin side really make it and sort of cross
Absolutely.
between that and the Americans, which is a dream a lot of us have had, but you've sort of been a really good bridge of that, and it's still continuing. I think we're still in process. I don't think we've gotten to the point we want to get to, but estamos sort of in the process of getting there one day.
Yeah, bro. It's a journey, man, and hopefully like I could just be the I don't know, just the fire starter, you know what I'm saying? Like just start the fire and then just start something where all these kids just rise up and just start being great and being proud to be brown and Latino and just go for it, you know?
Yo, and so a cool thing about this is great because there's like a good amount of years invested in research. I know a little bit about you, so I knew it was going to be easy to do this because there's all these questions I've always died to asking. And I'm like, wow, I can finally do this in an interview and ask this dude and not be afraid of like, hey, what he's going to say. Well, first of all, like I heard about you because you were making beats at the time for Social Club, and this is a long time ago, a couple years ago. And somebody told me, no, you got to go check out this little heavy set Puerto Rican dude, and he plays drums. And I was like, what? Yeah, he makes beats, but he's a sick drummer, this and that. And this is in Miami. So you're in
Right.
Orlando, I think, or upstate. I don't know where
I'm
exactly.
Gainesville's
Again, uh-huh.
6 hours from Miami.
So at the time, man, we get on. I have a couple of friends that are musicians. So they're like, no, let's go look. So we jump on, boom, we jump on YouTube and we see a couple like audition videos. If you want to go see Cardec Slimmer and doing his thing on drums, just go to YouTube and you'll see like pre-marriage single, like where he was at. All this stuff started to change. But when did you, or was it always a combination of you always wanting to do beats and play drums, or did you transition and one day said, okay, I'm gonna sort of slow down on playing drums physically and jump into production?
Bro, I don't think the goal was never I never chose. I think it was just for like a good 4 or 5 period life, like 5 year period of my life was just trying to stay alive, just trying to survive. So whatever that was, whether it's like being on tour with a band or playing at a church at whatever service they needed me to fill in or make beats for $100 or whatever, like DJ bar mitzvah, whatever, you know what I'm
Whatever it takes.
saying? Whatever. And I was living in Cali at the time, so like rent over there was insane. So um yeah, I was just trying to stay alive, and then I got married, and then right literally like maybe like 3 days after I got married, I it was my first gig with Andy Mineo. So literally it was like get married, short little honeymoon. I'm off to Texas, first show. And then I was on the road with Andy for like almost like a year and a half.
Right.
And then I just kind of felt things like, all right, I have to choose, and doors were getting shut, and I was like, all right, I don't know what's going on. There was no money coming in. I was losing gigs, and I was like, all right, Lord, I'm just gonna trust you. I was about to quit music. Like I even told my wife, I was like, you know what, I'm just done. I'm gonna become a barber, whatever. And she's
Okay.
like, first of all, you haven't paid your school loans from your music school, so that's not gonna happen. So get in that studio and start making beats.
Yeah.
Um, and that's what I did, bro. And uh, literally, bro, the day that my son was born, like 30 minutes before my wife's about to give birth, I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh crap, baby's coming, whatever. Like literally, I just start getting all these text messages. Like I start getting text messages from like, yo, KB. Like KB was like, yo, we finished the album that we've been working on for 2 years. We're gonna pay you. Trip Lee hit me up. I don't even know how he got my number. He was like, "Yo, I want to work," and like all like 5, 6 text messages from different people, and I
Wow.
was like, "All right, bet. Let me call you in a week."
Oh my God. So,
Yeah, bro. And
eh,
then from there, it was just like it was literally like God was like, "Yo, don't worry, I'm gonna provide for you and your child and your family, and I got you."
yo, you gave me a great segue. I was like waiting for one, and you gave me one. And so, how old is Isaiah now, your son?
Yeah, I couldn't hear you.
How old is your son, Isaiah?
I don't know what's going on.
You hear me?
There we go. There we go.
As I was asking, it was like a great segue. And my question was, how old is Isaiah now, your son?
How old is he now?
Yeah.
He's 2. He's 2.5. He's gonna be 3 in August. August 1st.
Okay, so I want you to grab your phone for a second, right? Grab your phone. I'm gonna send you a picture. I'm gonna send you a picture, and I want you to describe to me. You hear me, right?
I cannot hear you right now, bro. I
You
don't know
hear me?
what's going on.
You hear me? You
It's
hear me?
like
You
a
hear me?
crazy lag. There we go. Now I got you.
Okay, you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna send you a picture on your phone, and then I'm gonna put it on the screen when I edit this so people can see the picture we're both looking at.
All right,
And I
bet.
want you to tell me, man, um, I'm sending it to you now via Instagram so you can look at it.
Bet.
I don't know if you see it yet.
Yeah, I got it.
This is the first picture that you posted of your son Isaiah.
Yeah, bro.
Okay. I want to know what you would tell that dad that was at the beginning stages of being a father. Now that you've been 2 years in the game, what were you feeling that day when you had Isaiah, and what would you tell any new dad that's going to have a child as they're dealing with having a child?
Man, I think the first thoughts that I had was like, we're at the hospital, and then they're like, "All right, you guys get to go home." I was like, "Oh we're going home? Like we you're gonna trust me with this human being? We gotta what?"
Were you scared?
Dude, I was like me and my wife, both of us were just exhausted because we were there for like at the hospital for like 2 days, and barely no sleep, and those couches terrible over there in the
Yeah.
hospital. But I think it was better because her mom was there, and I think for both of us, me and my, we're like, crap, what do we do now? You know what I'm saying? It was like, oh, we're gonna sleep, okay. It's like, how do we know? How do we know he's gonna sleep? Is he breathing? Is he alive? So, I think the biggest thing is everything is gonna be okay for that new father. Is like everything is good. You're like you're gonna have a beautiful baby, healthy daughter, son. I think the biggest thing is just one day at a time. Like literally, one day at a time. Because for me, it was like after the 3 months of maternity leave was over, my wife was like, "I got to go back to work," and I'm like, "All right, cool. I got to stay here. I'll, I'll stay here.
Yeah.
All I know is all I know is being a bachelor all my life and just
It was new. It
roughing
was
it
new.
out. You really can't do that."
For people that are wondering, it's a picture of his son, and this is Isaiah. This is like the first picture he ever, at least I think, that I found on Instagram that he put his son up there. And as that started to happen, more and more pictures started to show up of your son on all kind of different posts after that. Correct?
My bad. Go ahead.
I said after that post, a bunch of different pictures started to show up. I mean, your son was on every post after that,
Yeah.
like a proud father.
Right. Right.
And I even imagined that he would be with you as you were making beats. I think I saw something where you had him sort of held, and you were like making your beats and whatnot. Um, wow, man, that's crazy. And you had to make it happen. So you were like co-parenting at the same time and being a father and making beats at the same time, pretty much, right?
Yeah. Yeah, bro. A lot of actually the funny thing is the one of the records that I got nominated for a Dove. It was Triply Forever. That beat, I made it with Isaiah in my arms.
That's
Like
crazy.
as he was like sleeping and in my arms, and I'm just like, man, I gotta get this work in. Like on the kitchen table, on the kitchen table, like in my like we were in an apartment at the time, like 2 bedroom apartment, headphones, busted laptop, and my baby boy in my arms, just making it work.
And now, is it easier for you to make beats with him there, or he's not really part of the process?
It's different, man. I mean, I feel like every day is just like adapting because he's 2 now. So now it's like he needs the attention, and he's hungry, and my son is like super super independent, like to the point where like he doesn't won't talk to you or won't communicate. He'll just be like, I'm thirsty, I'm gonna get this juice jug and I'm
Oh
gonna give it to
wow,
you and you pour it out for me. Like literally he'll bring me the jug and the cup and we'll be like, I'll wait. Yeah.
that's amazing, man. What have you learned in the last 2 years, man, about yourself that you didn't know you were capable of doing as a father? Because I say that because when I started out, man, my son is about to be 6, and one of the biggest, like I hear some of the similar things, like what I was dealing with. It took us a really long time to have a child, so when we finally had Josiah, I left. I remember leaving the hospital being afraid, like, oh my God, I got to put this dude in the car, like put a seatbelt. How are we gonna? What if something happens? What if a car
I was
hit
like,
us? What?
did I even install a car seat right? I don't know how to.
And then you're stressing like, oh my God, do I have enough money? Do I have enough milk? Do I have enough Pampers?
Oh,
Oh my God, what if he doesn't have? And bro, you're questioning like things that you're like, bro, what am I doing? You're just bugging out because it's going crazy.
mhm.
Now, 6 years later, the crazy thing about fatherhood, you're gonna learn this as you go, and I'm sure you've learned it to this point, is that it continues to evolve. Like you never have it all the way down. Like the moment you think that you have like fatherhood sort of
Preach,
figured
bro.
out, bro, you think you're like, oh, I got this, man. My parents said this. I put a little sprinkle of that, boom, boom, into the order, and we're good to go. And bro, the next moment you're being thrown for a loop that you just were not ready for. So, like, I know some of the challenges I deal with are a little different from yours because your son is 2, mine is 6, and
Hmm.
mine is a little more vocal right now. I have to be careful what he's watching. I have to like
Right,
be. It's just a lot more. Uh, like I have to be careful who he's around, what he's doing, because he's picking up. Now he's a sponge, and he's
right,
quickly.
right,
If I let him watch too many YouTube videos, he starts talking like these YouTubers. You know what I mean? Like if I don't speak enough Spanish, then he looks at me like a gringo, and he's like, "What are you talking about?" And we're like, "Bro, we're Puerto Rican. What are you doing? Like, you gotta speak it." But I
right.
know it's a challenge that we all have to go through. What season are you in, man? As far as fatherhood with your son, like what challenges? Don't give me because I know people usually speak about the good stuff, but tell me some of the challenges that you're dealing with and how you're adapting to those things
Bro, I think just having a 2-year-old boy is just like bro. He's just like man, like a Hulk. Like he's just so strong, and like the dude will literally like pick up like 2 full water jugs and like nothing's like just chilling. Like how are you strong? Like why you out here benching like 250? You're 2. You know what I'm saying?
now.
But like I think the biggest thing is man balance right now. It's like especially with the quarantine. Like my wife, she's working from home now. We turned the studio into like a office, so it's like both of us in here. So right now it's like the season of like, all right, how do I balance with like my career, get turned everything in, running a label, but also like being with my wife. And my wife is totally different. When she's working, she likes to take breaks and have a conversation and ask questions. And when I'm working, I'm like just straight tunnel vision and just quiet. Don't bother me. I'm getting stuff done. And then in the meantime, I got a 2-year-old who's like, can't hold attention for, more than 10 minutes. You put a movie on, but then, he wants attention. So I think the biggest thing is patience and balance
Amen.
and me having grace with my wife and my kid, and they having grace on me, and God giving me grace to be like, all right, how do I like
You don't slap the hell out your child. Listen, I understand exactly how that works. I'm just keeping it real. That's how it's gonna. I mean, that's what you wanted to say. So I'm gonna say, listen, listen, man. I wanted to ask you this because I think it's really important, and sometimes I think it's overshadowed. And I think it's. I always, when I'm talking to dads, I always ask this question because it's always great to learn from other couples.
Right.
And you mentioned your wife, and
Mhm.
it was really cool, man. I saw you on that KD video, champion. I remember it
Yeah.
had y'all looking like the typical. It was hilarious. Yeah, like
The
a hair.
refugees.
Yeah, I was with the grass. It was just the funniest thing ever. But it worked. It was a dope shot. It worked.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know what I do. I know that guy. Okay, all right. I know what's going on here. I get the vision.
Right.
Bro, what is something after 2 years of you being with Isaiah and your wife, something that you admire a lot about your wife that you never saw before Isaiah came, and now that she's taking care of Isaiah as the mother role in the function of the family that you see now that you admire a lot about your wife, that she probably doesn't notice that you see.
Bro, the amount of like just like nurture, you know what I'm saying? Like how it's like just I mean obviously she's a mother, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like
yeah,
how it
yeah.
comes so natural, how like I could be trying to like just calm him down. I could give like my son could be just freaking out crying. I'm like, yo, this is juice, this is what you wanted. Here, calm down. And then literally my wife just comes and she's like, give me this. And it's like nothing ever happened. Like they're like cuddling and you know, and I'm just like, what just happened? But I think that for sure. I feel like a lot, especially as like new parents
Yeah,
in this age, in this like time where it's like, like newly born to like 2 3. I feel like us as parents we could like have a lot of self-doubt. It's like, man, am I being a good parent? Am I a bad parent? Like am I, because it's like you could be fine, and then all of a sudden, like my son goes outside, comes back, and it's like he's got like scratches all over his legs, and like, oh my god, what happened?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
so sometimes you're like, man, am I good enough? And it's like, yes, you are good enough. You are a good parent. You're doing the best you can. And I think that's the biggest thing of my wife that I've like learned and seen more, observed is like, yo, her like the capability of her, the fact that she could just like something goes wrong and then she just comes in and it's like, I got this. And it's just like Mother Teresa, you know? Or like I'll be doing something and I'm like, won't understand. And she's just like, he wants this. And she gives him this and it's like, oh, I'm like, oh, thanks. you know?
I, I feel like moms have these things instilled in them and they don't come out until they become a mother.
Facts, bro.
Like straight up, like I feel like when my wife, like I was like, my wife is like a pretty like strong-headed female, and she has a semi-aggressive style or whatever. But when my son came, son, she knows how to like turn it on, turn it off. It's like
Bro,
I'm bending my head like, yo, I never seen this side of you. Like,
bro,
what's going on?
facts.
It's
Yeah, like
crazy.
exactly. That is the perfect example. Like turn it on and turn it off. She'll like turn it on in front of the child and everything, he falls asleep, and then turn it off and it's like just like, oh, we were arguing? Oh, okay, I thought it was over, but all right. Yeah.
Yo, something that came to mind, that something that, especially in our culture, man, as Latinos, something that I've had to navigate as a father, and I wanted to hear your take on it, is that
Mhm,
sometimes, because I'm Puerto Rican Dominican, I know you're Puerto Rican, and
mhm.
sometimes we'll get advice from uncles, brothers, uh, friends, people that know us for years, and they'll give us this advice that sort of seems out of goodwill, like out of a great place in the heart, but sometimes it doesn't apply to what you're doing with your kid at the moment. Have you dealt with any of that? How have you sort of navigated? Because
Bro,
eso pasa mucho con nosotros. Like, there's a bunch of refranes and there's a bunch of like things that you're like, bro, that worked in the 70s. That doesn't work now.
yo, I think the biggest it's like moms, dog. Like the Latina moms are always the ones to like and like my mom is like really big into like diagnosing, but you don't
Okay,
know
yeah.
what. You know what I'm saying? Like the other day I was like, oh man, my foot kind of hurt. Ah, nene, tú sabes, eso es lo que tú tienes. That's a heel spur. I was like, right here is like, sí, nene, tú no viste que Juanita de la iglesia, ¿no? And I'm like, where do you get this? Sí, porque lo vi en Google. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's the biggest thing. But I feel like growing up with all that, and you just take it with a grain of salt, and just because some of the advice is really good,
Well, some
and
of it is.
and some of it is just like, no, I'm not putting Veeks on my
Yeah,
2-year-old son.
bro, how could you? You know what, bro? Let's not. Oh my God, how could you say that? That's like a classic thing among Puerto Ricans, bro.
And you know what's crazy?
Son, the VIX is stacked. Like at my crib,
Vaporu, bro.
loco, I'm only on Vaporu because my mom put me on game. I don't think Josiah, my son, is gonna get on it, but I do have a little Vaporu. Dog, it's sad. Like I feel. See, those are the bad things that we pick up
But you
from
know
our
what, low
parents.
key, I'm not gonna lie. We found like a kid's version of the Vaporu that
Uh-huh.
doesn't have the menthol because
Uh-huh.
I didn't know that it had menthol in it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And so we found a version that doesn't have menthol. It's like made for kids. And so I was like, oh, it's over. I was like, Isaiah, come here. Slathered us.
Yeah.
Boy was chilling. He knocked out. He said,
You'll
down.
make mama. You'll make mama proud. Listen, man. I did a little homework and I asked some friends. I just asked one. I was like, "Yo, tell me when you see Cardec with his son. How does he treat his son? How does he?"
Mm.
And no one's gonna say, "Oh, he beat the living trash out of him." He was. I just wanted to hear what do people don't see out of Cardec
Right.
that you may have seen in person with his son. And I'll
Mhm.
give you like the quote that somebody gave me. I spoke to Tommy, so if he says something stupid, you could kill him, Tommy Royale. So if
Right.
he said anything wild, he said one thing that I know that many people don't. That when it comes to his son, he treats him like a prince. He's gentle and loving, which you don't expect from him because of how most people see him. And
Mm.
truthfully, sometimes it's like 180 switch up from when he's dealing with other people, and then he has to deal with his son.
Mm.
And so people, you think people see you as a mean dude? I don't see you as a mean. I think you're serious with business, and people sort of misconstrue that because if people don't know, Carding is very outspoken, has no fear, which is
Right.
that's why we communicate easily because I'm the same way. So he has no fear of telling you exactly what he feels.
Right.
And I think sometimes it's misunderstood for that dude's aggressive or he's a little mean or whatever. But honestly, sometimes that's how it gets done. You just gotta be like that, and
Yeah.
you're like everyone else. So I do want to commend you on that. But how do you? I think all dads are like that. I'm pretty
Right.
aggressive too, but when it comes to my son, like I shut off everything because
Facts.
especially because como tú y yo, like we only have one. I only have one kid
Right.
right now. Like I don't have two. So
Right.
sometimes the focus can be a little too strong on just one because you're concentrated on that one and you're like
Mhm.
you're asking God like, Lord, I just want to be a great dad. I just want to be a great example. Lead him in this
Right.
path, which is which is really hard. But how do you feel about hearing someone else that sort of sees from behind the scenes? Because I was like, bro, be honest. If he says something, if I was like, don't say nothing bad, but tell me what you've noticed when you see him interact with his son. How do you feel about someone speaking about you like that? You think you're doing what you need to be doing, correct?
I think, yeah, man. I think a lot of people, man. It's funny because I didn't think I was that crazy or like come off as like aggressive until I remember I started working with this engineer and we just started kicking and we became really good friends. And he was like, "Damn, bro, I didn't know you was this cool." I was like, "What?" He was like, "Yeah, I thought you were just gonna like hate everything and just like I thought you were just gonna be like super negative and be real mean." I was like, "Really, bro? Nah, man. Like, I'm cool." But I get it though because I am very like when it comes to work, I'm like, nah, man. Like, let's excellence. I think that was just like ingrained with me. It was just like through excellence, and so like that also translated to be a father. You know what I'm saying? It's like I can be I can be a little bit more rough with my artists because they're grown men, and they know, and I expect something from them because I'm investing so much in them, you know. With my 2-year-old, doesn't know any better. You know what I'm saying? Like it's all learning. So it's like
Yeah.
it's with everything. It's like even going, even if we want to get deep with it, like discipling and like sharing the gospel, like you can't necessarily speak to someone that's new to the faith like how you would that's someone that's been 15, 20 years deep in the faith.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's different conversation levels, you know. So like someone like if you're discipling someone that's been in the, then yeah, you expect something higher because you know they know right from wrong, you know what's up, you know the word, you know. Same thing with my son. It's like, man, he's 2 years old, like, and he's my son. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Sure.
this literally, like, that's where you really understand. Like, I feel like God giving us sons and daughters is like the direct correlation of understanding like how much God loves us. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Sure.
bro, like God gave his only son. It's like, yo, if I had to like give Isaiah, like what? If I had, you know what I'm saying? Like that's wild. Like you think of that, it's like, yo, if I had to give my son, like what? Like I wouldn't do that.
Bro.
So like that understanding, and it's just like, yo,
Trying to
like,
preach to us tonight, bro? What's going on? That's a little
hey
conviction.
man,
There's a little conviction. I'm not gonna lie, like having to be reminded of that, especially the fact that we're fathers that are you just have one kid. And sometimes
mhm,
to be really honest with you, we can make them idols. We don't like,
amen.
bro, we're so engulfed. Man, I remember Cardec when my son was born the day and I held him up and I
Yeah.
remember like everything paused. Like it went
Mm,
360. I looked at him and I accumulation of years of a lot of crying, waiting,
yeah.
praying, saying, God, when? And then when Josiah came, it was like a brick was taken off my back, and I was
Mhm.
like, finally, we have something to show for our legacy. Like, and I was like, wow, okay, God, whatever happens next happens. But and who knew that all these things would sort of happen to see like what God has done to this point. But
Right.
it brings me to this point, man, and it's something that I often think about, and it's something that I struggle with, and I'll be 100% honest with you. Mentally, sometimes there's this thought process where I go, I'm not doing enough, or I could be a better father, or man, I could like I'll see a post of some friend of mine sitting with his kid at a table, they're having devotionals, and I'm like, Lord, why am I not as deep in the word rooted with my friends as we partake in the bread and the fishes and loaves? But nothing like that is happening. And I
Right.
sometimes have to remind myself, God, I'm different. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not that person. You have me at a different place. Do you ever deal with that? And if you've dealt with it, how have you sort of gotten through having to deal with that, man?
Every day, bro. Especially with, like my wife, you know, she follows like these like mom influencers.
Oh,
They're like
yeah.
the same, you know, their kids are like the same age, and they're out here like, you know, they're out here pronouncing dictionary words and doing their timetables at 2 years old. And my son is just like, like watching the you know, just running around and like, just, yeah, you remember that show, the Wild Thornberries with the
Yeah.
little. That's my son, bro. Just going.
Oh my God, bro.
Oh, man. But yeah, man. And so like, and for my wife, she's just like, "Is he okay?" It's like, "Is our son okay?" And I'm like, "Yes, we are normal. Like, we're good. Like, we're good. You know, like, and if anything happens, like, God is in control. You know, and like, I feel like that man, my whole life has literally been me like trusting in God, bro. Like I've been to where it's like I've starved before. Like I've been to where it's like, yo, it's either we pay rent or we eat. Well, I guess we're not eating. You know what I'm saying? Or like, or you know, or, like that's just it is what it is. So like I had nothing but just to trust in God and just have faith. And so sometimes my wife sometimes can have like kind of hard with that, and I always have to remind her, I was like, babe, I know it seems kind of scary, and maybe our son is not the same level as these 2 year olds that are eating all organic and have these free vitamins that they're getting from these companies because of their sponsors. But we are good
Oh
parents,
God.
and our child is loved, and he's smart. You know, I think that's the biggest thing. Is like, um, what's that word? uh
Not
compare,
comparing yours.
like
Yeah,
just
not.
comparing. I feel like that happens to a lot of us. A lot of parents is just like, well, my son isn't doing this. Is okay? It's like, yes, like every kid is different, you know. And to be honest, if he's not the son, my son is cuter anyway. So we already won. God bless me with a baby gap bottle. All
That's
right.
it. Yeah. No, I feel you, man. I think that's really good information for like, and I think great advice, man, for new fathers, because I feel like it's a constant struggle. You have to like renew your mind and your heart constantly on that premise. I deal with it a lot. And just like you, bro, like I'll see a post or I'll see some kid who's like doing karate at 3, and you're like, yo, my son, that dude doesn't want to get off the PlayStation.
Or
Like,
you,
what,
you see the
what is,
parents just like, yeah, I'm meal prepping my son's lunch for the week, and I made him organic,
yeah,
or pita chips with
yeah,
homemade
yeah,
whatever.
and my
And I'm
son is like, "Yo, give me mac and cheese, bro, from the box."
like,
Like,
yeah, here's a
I
slice
don't,
of bread or some mantequilla and queso.
you good to go. Yeah, but to be really honest, man, I think it's a great reminder for fathers because a lot of dads deal with it, and like you said earlier, you spoke about like how sometimes like I know we like we didn't badmouth, but we you sort of were making fun of how your mom would diagnose stuff and
Right,
sometimes get advice. I feel like at the same token, be in our culture, there are some good things that do come out, some
right,
great things that we do get to hear from our parents. Like there's things I learned from my father to this day that I'm like, yo, that's I want to implement that in my son's life. I don't know who's calling me. They need to stop calling me because it's late and we don't do those kind of calls. So my last question, man, and I'm done for the night because I know it's late. Is either pick your mom or your dad and give me something that they've instilled in you that you've passed along to Isaiah or you're going to pass to Isaiah at some point. I'll give you a couple seconds to think. I know. I'll give you mine. Um, my father, when I was really young, my father would show me examples of giving. And at first, you got to understand how he did it. Giving, my father was a really big giver. And when I say giver, he would look for any circumstance to give to people that were in need. And the way
mhm,
he did it, he didn't flodge. Like, he didn't like, here, son. He didn't grab a phone and was like, here, let me show you how I'm
right,
giving this homeless food. Oh, no, my dad would do this really awkward thing when we would, when you're driving in the hood, you stop at a light, there's a dude asking for pennies. And my dad would do this, bro, that I would flip me out. I'll never forget to this day. I'm gonna do it when my son gets a little older. We will get up to a light. Usually you're spooked because you're like, oh, this dude's about to ask me for $1. Blah, blah, blah. So my dad would put down the window and say he would ask the homeless person, "Hey, bro, let me hold $2." Like before the homeless guy is going to ask him for the money, he'd be like, "Yo, let me hold $2." And these homeless people would bust out the $2, bro. Like, boom, here. And my dad would be like, "Here's 5." And it
mm,
stuck, bro. Like it stuck. I was like, yo, that's crazy. And I saw him more and more do other things as I got older. And I was like, yo, my dad's heart for people is really
mm,
crazy. Crazy to the point he had a business. And I don't think he was a great businessman. His heart was too nice to people. And he didn't have a strong face to be like, yo, you owe me this money, get out of here. Or like, he would just, if it was a single mom struggling, didn't have the money, and was my dad would figure out a way to fix her car. Like he just
right,
didn't
right,
see that a single mom needed to be struggling with their kids in the car. And so for that reason, those are things I cherish. And even now, a lot of people don't know, and some people do know, I sell tacos. And the idea was never just to sell tacos. It was for my son to see us give homeless people tacos and use the same avenue for us to, make money, but at the same time help people that are really in need. And we want him to see that because we
right.
could talk about that junk all day long, but if he's not seeing an example of that all the time, then eventually he's picking it up. That's my side. But I want to hear maybe it's your mom, maybe it's your dad, something they've instilled in you that you think is valuable and I think other people can learn from it that you want to pass on to Isaiah as he gets older.
Man, I think my dad for sure instilled two things: the ability of like never giving up. Cause so like my dad grew up in New York, And so at that time, so he's dyslexia. He's dyslexic. He has dyslexia, and at that time didn't know what that was. So like in the '70s, didn't know what that was, and so he struggled, bro. Like barely like learn how to read. Like he was able to graduate high school, but his whole life was just like struggling to read. Could barely read. Reads at like a you know third grade, fourth grade level. But this man is now a building manager at the University of Florida at the O'Connell Center, which is where they play basketball. The dude, like, excuse me, he runs the building. He's the building, you know what I'm saying? Like he makes sure that everything's up to code. If there needs to be something fixed, like he calls them. And so it's like, yo, a dude with a high school diploma, with a fourth grade reading level, got to that point. You know what I'm saying? And like runs a building and people respect him. The fact of like, yo, never giving up regardless of your situation and just trusting in the Lord. You know what I'm saying? That and just work ethic, like just crazy work ethic, you know? And I remember my dad's a musician too. He's a conguero, percussionist. So and he played back in the day. He never did it like full time, but he played with like a lot when like the whole like Spanish worship thing was like
Mm-hmm.
really big in the '90s with Jaime Morel and Dory Machine and all these people.
Get a wing and all that. Yeah, no,
Yeah, Michael Barriento, all those like he played with all like it's pretty
yeah.
much like if they were in Miami and they had a show in Miami, they would call my church and my church band was backing them up.
Okay.
Uh, that was pretty much how it was set up. And so that also instilled in me of like excellence, like because they were like the band that everyone would call, and they were just like top players. And I remember when I was in high school, it would always definitely get me. I always felt like insecure because I'd be practicing something, and he'd come in and he's like, "Nah, that ain't it," and he'll just walk away.
Dang.
Or like I'll do something, I'll learn a new lick, and it'd be like, "Yeah, it could be cleaner," and just walk away. And
Dang.
and I just be like, "Oh, this dude's an a-hole, bro." Like, and it's like, nah, man. And I feel like I feel like going back to where like people think that sometimes I can be kind of really like tough, just comes from that. And it's just like, nah, man. Like, if you say you want to do this, and this is your dream, like you know what I'm saying? You about to if this is what you really want to do, you got to compete with the best of the best. So you got to like hold your own. You know, I remember I remember when I was in middle school, I was terrible in school. I was a terrible kid, always get in trouble. And but somehow I got into this like art school where you had to audition, and like it was kind of like a little mini university. Like it was regular middle school, but each kid had like their major, whatever, right? So I was like a music major, I was a band major, and so I got in for playing drums. And I think it was in eighth grade. I was doing wrong, and the band director, who was from he was from Bahamas, and my dad, he sat and he literally like looked at me and was like, "Yo, why are you making it hard? It like we're brown, bro. Like it's already hard on us. Why are you making it even harder for yourself?" And that like stuck, bro. Like to this day, this was how many years ago? I'm almost 30. Like
Wow.
it was like, yo, you're it's already hard on us, and you're already on your way to make it even harder for you. So why are you even doing it? And I was like, dang. And so that stuck with me, and I was like, yo, everything I do, I need to shoot for excellent and make it the best I can. Not to be the best, but just because, bro, it's already hard on us. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah, we're
you
already behind the eight ball in a way.
yeah, man. So it's like so I think those are definitely the two things that my father instilled in me was just like the ability to like just never give up regardless of the situation. If something goes wrong, figure it out, find a way around it or find another way to fix it, and just keep working nonstop. You know what I'm saying? Like, God's blessed me to work with all these people with Cray and KB, and it's like I'm not stopping now. You know what I'm saying? I'm still like I'm not. The goal has never been, the mansion and the money or whatever. Like it's never been the money, and by no means am I balling. Like I'm not gonna mention for those who think for
Yeah, 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 yeah,
those
yeah,
who
yeah.
think Cardec is balling.
I mean,
Um,
everybody wants to. You want to pay bills.
right.
Everybody wants to make a couple bucks. There's nothing wrong with that. Um, but I think once you continue to focus on the craft and apply those things that I just heard you say, like never giving up and hard work, like at the end of the day, it'll pay itself. And once you know who you are and what it is you do, it's like me, like people didn't know. I truly enjoy doing these conversations because doing radio for 15 years, I did very generic,
Mm,
quick, tell me about your song, tell me about your single, how did it inspire you? Like these very generic lines that took no
yeah.
kind of information. And then,
Checklist.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then a couple of years ago, like the first 4 years of my journey in radio, I met this young lady that worked at, this is crazy how this works. This girl was a secretary. I worked at a radio station in Miami, La Nueva, had 2 floors. On the first floor, there was a little Dominican girl that had just graduated from broadcasting school, journalism, and she was a secretary, and nobody would give her a shot at all. Like nobody would let her touch her mic. And she was skilled. Okay, I met her. I let her sort of do a segment on the night show that I would do on Fridays, and we became good friends. And I would see that for a 1 minute segment, the amount of research this female would do
Wow.
blew me away, son. And I was literally basing my skill and my approach on how I sounded. Like, and I was
Right.
doing no homework. And when I sat with this girl, I was like, oh, okay, I gotta step my game up. Like, I'm not gonna think like a radio dude ever again. I'll think like a journalist before I do anything else.
Hmm.
Like, having a voice is great, but if I can't give you something that's great and we can't have a conversation and dialogue that people really want to listen
Right.
to, then we're gonna talk about the same thing. So I have people that come to me and they're like, Manny, how can I fix it? How can I? There's no special. You got to put some work in. You got to be dedicated. You got to like care about the person you're speaking to, and then make sure that at the end of the day that they're talking more than you are. Because at the end of the day, no one came to see you. They came to hear you. So
Yeah, bro.
like that, once you learn those things, that's why I'm at the phase in my life where like I know what my strengths are, and I enjoy this tremendously because like if there's one dad and or a mom, because there's a lot of single moms that listen to the podcast. I've had a lot of them hit me up on messages and me like some of them want me to bash dads, single dads. And I'm not no straight up, bro. They're like, hey, why don't you talk about this subject and then shoot it there? So so you can tell my ex-husband who doesn't take care of our son. And I'm like, that's not why I do this. We can talk and dialogue about those things, but that's not
Right.
what I'm here for.
Right.
I'm
Right.
here to empower, educate, and like help fathers, especially Latino dads, because to be honest, brother, cuando yo era chiquito, like no one was guiding my father. You know what I mean? Like I was straight getting fuetazos without,
Real.
bro. There
Check.
was there was no conversation. No, look. This is why you're getting beat. Like no, era fuck it,
Well,
man. You
because you gotta remember, like, where they come from. Like, yo, my dad, he was abused. Like, straight up, like, his dad did not play. Like, it was like extension cords,
damn.
switch. Yeah, bro. Like, it was like real, like, no, you know what I'm saying? Like, real, like, old school, like, no talk, no timeout,
So you were getting straight time out. Boy, that
no time. No.
that's a gringo thing,
Say
brother. We
what?
don't do time out. We don't do time out.
Eso.
No, they do. They stand by the door and they're like, ahora, pasa por ahí. And they have the correa, the belt ready, son, to hit you as you pass through the
Yeah.
door.
So my dad, he definitely got, and there was definitely, I saw it. There was definitely like bitterness there for a lot of years. Um, and so like my dad did the best he could, with understanding now. You know what I'm saying? Now that I'm a
Yeah,
father, it's like, it wasn't that he was a jerk. It was like this
he
was
just
literally
didn't know.
that's all he knew. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah, 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 yeah.
you know, and it's like it was funny because I have a younger sister. When they had my sister, it was like one like complete change. Like he was like soft and lovable, and I was like, "Where was this?" Because me and my sister were like 8 years apart,
Yeah.
and so I'm already grown, and I'm like, "What? What?" Like I remember something. I said something, and my parents were like, "You need to stop because you're gonna you're gonna hurt her feelings or her, yeah, something like her feel. I was like, feelings? What are feelings? We never, what you talking? Oh no, it was her self esteem. That's what it was.
Oh
You
my
know,
God.
like self esteem. Ain't nobody talked to me about self esteem, and so it was like it was, and I definitely had this like bitterness too. Like
Yeah.
I was like, what was my self esteem when I was getting whooped with that belt? And my
Oh yeah,
dad,
man.
and like my dad, he's a conguero, he's a percussion, and he like worked with his hands, so he had these crazy callus, like super thick callus. So like when you get a whooping with his hand, it's over. It's like getting beat
It's
by
like,
concrete.
yeah, with a hand like that. Yeah, but it's great, man, that you understand, and I think dads can take this from this, and we were supposed to end already, but I think this is important
No,
that
bro.
you realize now that your father, it wasn't that he was being a butthole, it was that, you know what I mean, he just didn't know. I deal with the same thing. Like my dad's a PK, and when I grew up, I heard my dad a lot of times say, sound bitter, you know what I mean? Like he was bitter at the church, and like he was forced to, like we're talking about straight evangelism, brother, in DR, like in a corner, with
Right.
him and his two sisters. His dad would be preaching, they'll be singing on a box, like
Mm.
hymns from Lord knows when, with that little blue book. Like he has vivid, and they were struggling financially, and he remembers like times where a minister would come in, and he would have to give up his bed or his food for that person to stay there so they could preach that
Right.
Sunday. So my dad carried all of that, and man, now at my age, today's my birthday, which is really funny.
Oh, happy
Um,
birthday, bro.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. And like I'm reminded that like there's times, I'm not gonna lie, man, it's embedded, and I have to like cut some of it because my father. I tell myself I'm not like my dad. You know what I mean? Like first, I don't talk like my dad. Sometimes, secondly, um, my only thing my dad gave me was a monotone voice that I could regulate because my dad sounds like Barry White, like really deep, and
Right.
mine is monotone in the middle. Like it took me a long time to figure out how to use it well and sort of make my joints unique to me.
Right.
Um, but he was a savage, bro. My dad was a savage in a lot of ways. He had a great heart, but he smoked a lot of weed, did a lot of stuff that as a kid, like I grew regret towards, things I wouldn't, like my dad. This is crazy. Like my dad would send me to the dope house, a trap house, and he would leave me in the
Wow.
car, and he would walk to the trap house, bro, to get some weed, come back, and then he'd give me $1 to, sort of kill his own conviction. Like, here, I'm gonna give him $1, he'll
Give
be
me the
quiet.
soda while I get this. While I
Yeah,
go
yeah.
get some crack.
And bro, like I remember, bro, that we would be in these situations. We'd be in an alley, bro, with prostitutes walking by. This is Miami, bro, like the '80s.
Dang, bro.
It was rough, cuz, and I was like, why is this dude? Now is my age. I'm like, I would never put my son in that
Right.
circumstance. But I know that he wasn't doing good. Like he
Right.
mentally, you know what I mean, he wasn't out there. But it's good, man, to hear that you understand that, because sometimes there's people that they'll hold that in, bro, and hold it till they die, bro. And they never
Yeah.
realize that their parents were just in a situation where no one taught them, you know what I mean? Or they were just doing
Yeah.
in my case, I don't know about yours, but they were doing so much church that they forgot about running their household. So that eso también, and that's a whole another day.
Yeah, that's a
But
whole thing. I think,
yeah,
man, me as a father, what's taught me as a father is grace, bro. Grace on me, grace on my family, grace on my parents. Great, you know what I'm saying? Like, bro, 'cause, I mean, I've been through some stuff too, bro. Like, I've been my. I remember one time I think it was like 8 or 9. My my uncle's an alcoholic, and my my mom dropped me off because she was going to church. She had to work at church. It's like Wednesday night, so I go to it was always my grandma's house, and so my uncle was working on the car, whatever, drunk, and I was troubled my whole life, and so they had like a fence around the house. So I was like, Theo, can you open the gate? It's locked. And he's like, come over here. So I go to the other side because it was, you can both sides open. I go to the other side and that was locked. He's like, just jump the fence. I was like, I can't. I don't know how to. I can't. He's like, I'm gonna teach you. And I was like, I can't put my foot. I can't because I was big. You know what I'm saying? I was
yeah,
chubby
yeah.
little kid. And he's like, and it got to the point. And I was like, I can't do it. He's like, don't say it. And then he just slapped like the living crap out of me, bro.
Oh shoot,
Like,
bro,
like
you sick?
slap, like when I mean like traumatizing, like just pissed off drunk uncle, just like, and I'm just like, all I want to do was go to grandma's and play with my tech decks. Like,
Yeah, you just
I
slapped the
was,
hell out of him.
and he was like, yo, what? And I was like, that was for years, for years I had so much bitter against him. I could never like talk to him the same way. And now as a father, it's just like, I was like, man, like I've done some stuff where it's just like, not my proudest moments. And it's like, man, he's sick and he needs help and he needs love and he needs grace just as I do, just as my wife needs, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, so I think be growing into that and being a father, it's like, yo, I need to stop tripping. And as much as I always ask for grace, I need to step up and give grace and forgive and give all that to God. All the stuff that I've been through, all the hurt that I've been through, all the anxiety, the emotional stress, the insecurity, like literally give all that to God, um, and just be good. You know what I'm saying? Like, um,
Yeah, man. Yeah,
yeah,
and it's crazy how we don't even tap into that. Man, I'm so happy we had the conversation. One, because I got to see a side of you I never knew, and although you've been through some stuff, your parents did instill some great things in you. And like Isaiah has a is God is building up a great father for him. Like to hear you talk and what I've known of you and
right,
seen you do professionally as a producer and as now was running a label and how you develop artists. Like I've always respected that, but to hear how much effort and detail you put into being a father
right,
almost doubles whatever I thought. Because usually, you know, like we live in a decade where man, it's great. We should put up a great front. People know you by your accolades, but people don't really know what the hell you're about. Like, they don't know if you're a
right,
straight uh, D head when you're dolo or with your wife or your family. And like, I feel like these conversations are monumental. So I just want to say thank you, man, because this is great for people to hear. And you gave the idea and the vision behind these dad chats are not just so we know about your life, but that people get to hear resolutions to some of the problems they may be having. Because I know there's a lot of dads that struggle with some of the things we're talking about. They're just no one in our culture, Latinos especially, are
bro.
having these dialogues at all. Local, like it's
We
not
keep
happening.
all that in. Because we keep it in, bro. Because most of us is that they have the problem. But some of them, most likely the dads weren't around, or they were just like never present. They might be there, but they weren't present. You know what I'm saying? They weren't fathers. They was just there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And it's crazy because like a lot of the artists that I developed, yeah, I developed them as artists, but it's mainly mostly like mentorship. You know what I'm saying? And so like, man, like almost every artist that I'm with, it's like something with their dad went wrong, or and for me as like uh uh just a new father, it's just like, dang, like, all right, how do I steer this? How do I talk to them? How do I, and it's been good, bro. And like, cause the thing is, when you have when you're Latino and you're meant to like you're raised to just keep it all in and like be a man and like you don't talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's not like machismo thing, bro.
yeah, yeah,
It's
that's what it
like
is.
that Latino machismo thing, which is
Yeah, it's like
if
you
you
being
hold it in long enough, it'll kill you, bro. Because you feel
right.
like
It's
you don't
just
have
like
to say anything to
I,
anyone.
I always had this like not a theory, but it's just like people who grew up like in the hood, or it's like they didn't necessarily have the time to cry or be depressed or like go through it. You know what I'm saying? They suck it all up in like the depression, the anxiety. Like, I don't got time for that. I gotta pay the bills. I gotta make sure mom is cool. I gotta make sure baby mama, is cool. I gotta make sure my kid got food to eat. You know what I'm
It's
saying?
true.
Like,
It's
I don't
true.
got time to cry. I don't got time to like, spend time and open my word and like and cry and like like they don't think about that. You know what I'm saying? So like when I make music, I'm thinking about that. It's like as much as I would love to produce worship songs, dudes in the hood that are like selling drugs because they feel like this is the only choice they got. They don't got time for that. They don't got time for I just I it's like I think I saw one day it was like I watched this video and was like, yeah, I wrote this song because I sinned and then I cried the whole day and then I wrote the song. It's like, nah, bro.
Well, yeah,
People
we got a lot of time on your hand,
I'm trying
bro.
to reach are like my cousins who are like in it, you know what I'm saying, or like in the game and or have known about church their whole lives and still decide like I'm trying to reach those people. I literally make music by my personal experiences with my family because those are who I'm trying to reach. I love them. And they're in the hood, they're doing so it's like something is wrong. If my auntie and my mom and all this have been trying to get them to go to church and try to preach to them, something's wrong. Something's off. So we gotta fix this. So like I'm cool. I'm all for like Dios tu fuego me quema, and I love, but that tu fuego me quema isn't gonna stop this
It's true.
like generational curse.
It's true. It's
You know what I'm
true.
saying?
It's true. It's true. Man, thank you, man. Again, we went way longer than I expected, but there's
It was
so much
fun,
good.
man.
Yeah, there's so much good stuff here. I want to tell you, man, that my favorite record ever that you produced is an old Social Club record. I think it's called Van Bruin Boys. I think it's called, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, bro.
Bro, tell me this, and we'll get off after this. So, Social Club was like really wild and aggressive and liberal back then, right?
Right.
Like the way they were making music back then was so like it was almost like not clickbaitish, but it was very like edgy, like you were waiting for them to say something wild so you could get high.
Yeah.
But there was an excitement about it that was very intriguing at the
Yeah.
time. Yeah, that record, that was like old. That was when you first started making music, right?
That was Summer of George. That was like
Summer
my
Jam.
coming out party as a
Yeah,
producer.
yeah,
Because
bro.
the funny part about that album was I was supposed to only have like two or three joints on it. And what happened was I think one of the hard drives got messed up or they lost like the whole album and they had to redo the whole thing in like a week. So when they're like, yo, we need beats, we lost the whole album, we gotta do it. I was like, all right, bet, here's my shot. I literally sent them like 20 beats. And like that, and that's why the on the album, I think I had like eight or nine songs out of how many?
Yeah, yeah. There was a
Um,
vibe to it. There was a vibe to Social Club back then that's a little different now. I mean, they're more mature, they're older, they've done a couple of records. There's a lot that's happened since then. But I was going back to it because I was just fiddling around. I was like, let me hear some of Cardec's first stuff. There was just at that time I remember was working at the radio station here in Miami. And when I remember hearing those records and I was like, this stuff is so out of left field. People were like almost sending them to hell. I remember like they were getting memes and like reply because their stuff was so aggressive and they had no filter of
well, dude, that stuff is the blueprint for what I do. Like that stuff. When I heard Social Go, I was like, all right, I want to hang out with these guys because right now I'm producing for these Puerto Rican guys and they're still on this like tu fuego and I'm not and I'm trying to and so literally like that's been the blueprint for everything. That's the blueprint like and then that went into straight terrible. You know what I'm saying? Like with Xavier Omar, Suede, all of that. I was and so like all that paved the way for my label, no apologies. And it's literally
Yeah.
like what Social Club started in like, 2012, 2011 to 2013 was is what I'm doing now in the Spanish realm and just trying to bring that. And I feel like sometimes you need that out of nowhere, like that shock, like the like, what is this? Yo, these guys are crazy. But you look at CHH now, they're doing the same thing. You know what I'm saying?
It's
They like
true.
Social Club like paved the like made the blueprint for what like every if man like all these people like Aclesso, No Big Deal, What Up RG, all these people would not have careers in CHH if it wasn't for Social Club. Because all these what these people talk about is what Social Club started, and no one was doing that until they came in the scene. So it's like you definitely gotta give them, uh, you definitely like a Hall of Fame, CHH Hall of Fame spot because they paid the whole blueprint for what's going on right now.
Man, I'm out of here. Thank you, bro. I think we've been on for like 40, 50 minutes, almost an hour. A lot longer than I expected, which is
But I
great.
love
I
our
think,
conversations, bro. It's always like we just pick up where we left off, man.
yeah, man, it's never changed, and I appreciate that of you, man. So, thank you again, man, for it. I can't wait till Isaiah keeps growing. Maybe he'll be making beats one day. Who
Yeah, bro.
knows? You never know. No pressure. Pero gracias, man. Mándale saludo a tu esposa. And thank you, man, for sharing some of this knowledge, man, some of this history, some of these golden nuggets your parents gave you that you can share with other people that may listen or watch this. So I'm excited. This is my coming back party. I haven't done a podcast in a couple of months just because I was waiting for the right time. But we had a quick combo. And although I'm exhausted, I've been cooking and getting ready for tomorrow's service of food, working on my birthday. I
Right.
felt this was a God thing, man, and I'm so excited that I get to edit this and the world gets to hear some of this stuff. So thank you so much, man. Oíste, tenga buena noche.